In this video, I'll show you the 8 ways to judge values, and it's in my book, Ellen's Guide to Design Elements, where the Kindle is only $5. Squinting is the most common way to judge values. When we look at a light area, our pupil contracts, and when we look at a shaded area, our pupil dilates. So it's very hard to estimate the two of them accurately. But with squinting, less light gets into your eyes, so you can compare them. Also, color is obscured because color needs light, and details are obscured because your vision is blurred. So what do you see? Well, here's a scene, and here's the blurred vision of it. So you could see that, for example, this area looks pretty homogeneous, and you don't get caught up in all the details that are in that area. And then there's a gradation between blurry and sharp. You can begin to open your eyes gradually, and the first thing you should see is the focus. And then as you open your eye more, you see more color and detail. A second way to judge values is to blur your vision in other ways. So if you're lucky enough to need glasses, you can take them off. Otherwise, you would have to cross your eyes, meaning put your finger in front of your nose, maybe 8 to 12 inches in front of your nose, and look at it. And then through your peripheral vision, you look at the scene. I find that very hard to do. A second method is what's called the quick glance method, and it's good for dappled light, where you have very dark areas and very light areas. Because if you look at the shade, your eyes start getting used to it and it looks lighter. If you look at the light area for a long time, it starts looking darker. So to get the relationship between the two, you look quickly at it, then turn away and look at the sky or look at something else. Then try to remember, where were the patches of light? What were those shapes? And if you don't remember, take a quick glance again and then turn away. A fourth way is using a Claude glass, which is a black mirror, where you paint one side black and the other side is shiny. But nowadays, I think we could just look at our reflection on tinted glasses or the screen of our phone or tablet turned off. And to use it, you turn your back to the scene and look at its reflection in your tablet, as I did here. Keeping in mind that you're getting a mirror image of the scene, and it's darker than the original. The dark glass reduces details and colors so that you can see the general values. Now, if green predominates, like summer scenes, then you can use a red glass, the complement, because that will gray the green. This is also a good way to look at a bright sky, as long as you don't stare at the sun or its reflection. And then number 5 is alter your photograph, either by turning it into a grayscale or by posturizing it, where you break down the image into its main values and shapes. Another way to examine values is to look at your scene in a low lighting situation, not the one that you want to paint. And that would include moonlight or dimming the light in your room. And you'll see the main values as they relate to one another with little color. But with this method, and also the method using the screen on your tablet, you only get the dark, dull values. You don't get the real values. And these last two methods will help you find the real values. One of them is to stick out your hand so that your hand gets the same lighting as the scene, and then determine which values in the scene match the values on your hand. So like my thumbnail here might look like this value here and this value here. And alternatively, I could just be holding up a value scale and compare it to the scene. And then the last method is to paint a value range on one side of a transparent palette and then turn it over and apply paint mixtures so that they match the values. In this picture, I compared value key to value contrast. So this first column is high key, this one's middle key, and this is low key or very dark. The rows are low contrast, mid contrast, and high contrast. And to quantitate them, I used Photoshop's scale, where 0% black is white and 100% black is black. And the only problem with this is that when you would think of high key images, you think of a high number. But when I do it this way, it's actually a low number. But let's see what we can figure out from this. First of all, the low contrast images, this whole first row, is very hard to read. Mid-contrast is better. I'm saying that's a 30 to 40% difference between the darkest and the lightest. So this would be good for atmospheric pieces. And then the high contrast, where there's an 85 to 90% difference between black and white, is where we're usually working. This is what we like the most. The high key images shouldn't have black, and the low key images shouldn't have white. A high key image is in the light range of values from white to mid-gray, and it's appropriate for weddings and babies and has a soft, airy, delicate feel to it, often with soft edges, and it works better with a pale subject in diffuse flat light. So that it doesn't appear weak, you have to have a few carefully placed darks like I did here. But most artists say that you should avoid black because then the image would no longer be high key. And so a dark gray around here is about as dark as you would want to go. Now the problem with high key images is there's nothing to contain the eye since all the edges are light. And this can be remedied by putting a dark frame around it. This is a middle key picture going from light gray to nearly black. And in this particular case, it goes from 20% black to 95% black. Middle key images creates a calm, quiet mood, and it can be bland because you usually don't have very dark or very light values in it. So to make it more interesting, juxtapose the lights and darks that you do have, particularly at the focus, and contrast color, saturation, and temperature. This is a low-key image, and it runs from about middle gray to black, and it suggests loneliness, mystery, fear, sadness. It could be a stormy weather, or it could be a beautiful wooded scene. It usually indicates low lighting. Check out my book on Amazon, Ellen's Guide to Design Elements, and please remember to subscribe.